I have told people one of the first things is when you are in an abusive marriage, stop reproducing. When you are in an economic crunch where a partner is not working, where a spouse has not worked and refuses to work, it is not the time for reproduction. You are not the kind of people that God told to replenish the earth, because what are you going to do? When you give birth, it is for another person to train. You can't be burdening people with your children. People that can afford are not giving birth as much as you. When you begin, let me explain something to you. Simple people are referred to as simpletons. If you look at the meaning of a simple person, let me quickly just try to quickly. Let me just quickly try to read. Sorry, please. I just want to read it. Simple. When they say you're a simple person, people think simple person means easygoing, good, kind. But when you look at the dictionary interpretation of the word simple, you would see that it refers to someone as being naive, easily fooled. They are referred to as simpletons. And when you look at the meaning of simpleton, it means a foolish or a stupid person. Why would they call them foolish? Because they are easily deceived. Now, part of the synonyms, that is another word for simple, is meek. And Christians believe that being meek is a virtue. Why? Because Moses in the Bible was the meekest man that ever lived. So, I'm going somewhere. You will follow me, please. The set of people, particularly Christians, who use God as an excuse for laziness, can only be with simple spouses, meek spouses. Now, let me tell you the meaning, the dictionary meaning of meek. When you think submissive, you have to be submissive, you have to be simple, you have to obey. Now, listen, the dictionary meaning of meek is quiet, gentle, easily imposed on, submissive, overly compliant, spiritless, yielding. The Collins Dictionary describes it as gentle and quiet, more likely to do what people say. Cambridge Dictionary defines it as unwilling to disagree or fight or to strongly support personal ideas. That means the person is unwilling to disagree with anyone or to fight for their personal ideas and opinions. It's amazing, simply amazing, easily imposed on. So what that tells you, that a meek person is a person who is void of opinions. They do what other people say because they are unwilling to fight for what they believe, their ideas or opinion. They are spiritless. That means they lack no spark. These are the people that are suitable for lazy spouses because they are easily imposed on. I can tell you, like a man told his wife, he was jobless. The wife was the one paying the rent, subscribing to DSTV, told her that if she cannot subscribe to DSTV Premium, she shouldn't do DSTV at all, because what is TV without football? He is not working. He would take a car out, told her to go and apply for a loan for him for 5 million naira loan. And she said she couldn't afford it. He vexed and packed his bags and left her. 2 months later, he came back. She went to get it for him because she was meek. She was simple. Now, they tell you that God told them not to work. But remember that God said, he that does not work should not eat. Do you remember? Let me read that out to you, so that you first of all have that you should have that in your it is in 2 Thessalonians 3:10. Even while we were still there with you, we gave you this rule: he who does not work shall not eat. So that's 2 Thessalonians 3:10, first of all. So let us look at those that use the Bible to say God told them not to work, that they should become full-time ministers, so they shouldn't work, even though all the apostles had jobs. Some were carpenters, fishermen, tent makers. You know, they all had work, except this modern day Nigerian people who will find a woman who is working. And please, I met for the first time a woman too who said, for the first time, is always men. So this week, for the first time, I was called and, you know, introduced to a woman who said God told her that she shouldn't work, that she should just be in ministry, praying and everything. That's what God told her. So she has not worked, though she has a child. It's a family that give her, and that is what is causing the problem. When you are helping laziness, you are not helping her, you are facilitating her. I'm coming. So if you think women and men, I'm talking to both now, but more insulting is the man who refuses to work and then will go and propose to a woman to come and marry. And then more crazy is the woman that would accept a marriage proposal from a jobless man. Won't you even ask, what will we eat? Where will we live? Who will pay the rent? So these simple people who would marry and start catering for a jobless spouse, they say they are meek. You know, you are simple and you don't know. You think that being simple and being meek are godly characteristics. Let me just explain some things in the Bible to you. Moses was known as the meekest man who ever lived. Knowing that the definition of meek is, number one, unwilling to disagree or fight, or to strongly support personal ideas and opinions. Quiet, gentle, easily imposed on, submissive, overly compliant, spiritless, yielding or tame. That is someone who has been tamed. That is the meaning of meek. However, I now went into the Old Testament to check in Hebrew what that meek, because at times the meek they are referring to in the Bible is different from the meek that English language is defining. I now saw that the Hebrew word for meek there was anaw, that is A-N-A-W, and it refers, in translation from Hebrew, to someone who is afflicted or bearing a burden. It explains the circumstance where one is willing to endure. You see, Moses never complained about the grief Miriam and Aaron, his brother and sister, were causing him. He simply chose to endure. So when he went on the mountain to receive the 10 commandments, by the time he got back, Aaron had partnered with people and made a golden calf. Right there, when your brother was on top of the mountain. You remember when Moses came down with the 10 commandments and he saw it, he got angry and broke the tablets, the 10 commandments. You know, there was a punishment for that. Remember again, Moses was, people started grumbling and complaining. And Moses was just tired of miracles, that even after God parted the Red Sea, after God did this, you people, you still would be complaining that there's no this, there's no water. He now turned and God said he should just tap the rock. And Moses angrily struck the rock. Water came out. But that angered God, because I told you to do something, but you did. Apologies to those who are not Christians. I want to talk to Christians. Now, you can see the disadvantage of being meek. Moses chose to always carry other people's burdens. Even though it affected him, he will not complain. God saw it one time and had to punish Miriam, and Moses was still pleading for her. Struck her with leprosy, and you know, she had to be kicked out of the congregation of Israel. But you see, the problem with meek people is that at that very point where they get their highest miracle, they with their own hands, because of the burden they carry, always spoil their own moment. At no time in the Bible had God appeared as a pillar of fire, and God himself wrote on tablets of stone, God's handwriting, the 12 commandments. Moses was so angry when he had gotten down, he broke it. God punished Moses for that. Meek people always receive the punishment of lazy people. You are not called to bear people's burden, and that was the meek of Moses, always willing to carry other people's burdens. That is, you that are carrying the burden of a jobless person. Each time you are promoted, you cannot celebrate because it is more responsibility for you. Each time something good happens, something bad will follow from the people who you are carrying their burden. You cannot come and rejoice in the house. At every point in time that something spectacular happened to Moses, he with his own hands, because of the burden of the people he carried, especially that of his sister and brother who always led a rebellion against him, because he was compliant, he was meek, he was gentle. Do you know the end of Moses? Moses did not enter the promised land, he only saw it. That is the punishment for meek people. He did not. And why? Because at every point in time he broke the tablet. The other time he struck a rock, and God really was angry at the rock. I'm thinking that rock had more connotation, more significance than anything, because that was what angered God the most. Because you struck this rock, you would only see the promised land, you will not enter. How is it that you led people for over 40 years in the wilderness, yet you will not enter where you are leading them to? Have you noticed? Those that carry the burdens of their spouses, they pay, they themselves at the end of the day die before their time. That jobless will not move to another person, will inherit what they did not work for. Why? Because you are feeding your problem. Your problem will now become bigger than you. Why? You are the one nourishing them. Can you imagine a virus? It's like a virus, and you are the host. You keep giving nourishment to the virus begins to grow and multiply. You begin to give birth to people in your poverty, in your joblessness, in your struggles. You begin to give birth to children of struggles. How do you think the children will grow up? They will grow up to be like their father or hate their father. There would be no straight line. Moses never saw the promised land because why? He was meek. Now I want you to compare Moses and Elijah. Elijah from the beginning judged Israel without fear or favor. Elijah was the one that would go to the king and say, listen, there will be no rain except at my word. God did not tell him to say that. He went to them and he told him. Why? Because if you are a Bible reader, you would see that there's something that Elijah knew that people did not know. That they that know their God shall be strong and do exploits. Elijah's life was full of exploits. Why? Because he did not fear man. He only did what was right according to his conscience. He said there will be no rain because the king was wicked. And at that time, God had to honor. God now said, go and stay by one brook. I will send ravens to feed you. If God sent you, he will feed you. Ravens will bring meat and bread. And there was a brook where he drank. That was where Elijah was kept. Whoever God sends, God will feed them. If God truly told you not to walk, he will feed you. But God is not feeding you. Man is feeding you. Where did you get your own prophecy from? Elijah at what times will be surrounded by armies. He will not even bother. Elijah will be walking. Some children will be mocking him. He said, you dare mock me? You know, a man, if I be a man of God, so and so happened. A bear came out and killed all the children. He was a no-nonsense man. He was not meek. But you know, he had no fear or favor. How did Elijah end up? He was carried up in heaven in a chariot of fire. He did not die. That is the difference between a meek man and a powerful man. By power, it meant that he had no fear of man. You can rest be assured, whatever God sent Elijah would do. Elijah was not condescending. You know, Elijah, let us read the definitions of meek. Easily imposed on. Who will you come and impose what on Elijah? Elijah would not agree. So the issue I have with people is that when you are not even able to support your own dreams and aspirations, when people can easily sway you away, the simple and the meek, those of you that are simple, those of you that are meek, simpletons, naive people, that other people will come and sway you out of your own way. With your own hands, you do yourself. Why? Because you cannot even hold an opinion. Solomon classified men in three categories: the wise, the foolish, and the simple. When you go to the book of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, that is all you will see. The wise, not that they were born wise, but because they were always willing to learn. And one thing about them is they feared their conscience. The foolish, not that they are not uneducated, but they are not willing to learn anything other than what they know. They believe what they know is enough for them. So they are unwilling to change, unwilling to learn. They believe this is it, this is it. One thing with the foolish is that they do not regard conscience. They go by their feelings. Then the simple. The simple are in between the wise and the foolish. They are not wise. They are not foolish. They simply do what other people tell them to do. Because the foolish speaks loudest. They say empty barrels make most noise. The foolish speaks loudest, so the simple get to do more of what the foolish people advise them because they have no content. They are just meek. They're just simple. Oh, you think that is it? Something happens. Let me call daddy, or let me call mommy. Let me call this. What do you think? My wife has started again. No, that's your wife. You better go and pack her load and throw out. That's what it's true. It's true. That girl too, they don't have anything. They are the ones controlled by their mothers. They are the ones controlled by their fathers. It is just outrageous how you can come through life and be simple, how you can come through life and be meek. Look at the end of Moses. He did not enter the promised land. Even where he was buried, when you go to the New Testament, the devil did not even want his bones to sink. Angel Michael had to contend with the devil for the bones of Moses. That was a meek man. The meekest man on earth not entering the promised land. Now let us go to Elijah. The fiercest prophet of his time. What happened? He was carried up in chariots of fire. He did not see death. So if you are to choose, ladies and gentlemen, would you rather live not to fulfill destiny or enter your own promised land? Or would you like to live gloriously and be carried on a chariot of fire after fulfilling your dreams and your vision?